It's a once-in-a-lifetime event for our community.
The NFL selects Green Bay, Wisconsin.
And no one is getting you ready for the draft like Local 5. It's Titletown's turn. Presented by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Titletown's Turn here at Local 5, our weekly series where you hear from those on the front lines of staging the NFL draft.
Now, we've explored everything from where people can stay to how they can get around and who are the top prospects in this year's draft class.
Tonight, our chance to hear from the person who was critical to bringing the biggest event in history to Green Bay.
We have none other than Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy with us tonight in the studio. Mark, thanks so much for making time for us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's great to be here.
Much appreciated. Draft coming to Green Bay. You've been working on it for so long. We're so close. Has it sunk in? Has it hit you?
Yeah, it's been exciting. You know, it was something that it was a number of years where we petitioned. You know, the league, I think around 2014 or 15, started taking the draft on the road to different NFL cities, really with a focus on cities that would not host the Super Bowl.
Right.
And so we kind of raised our hand and said, you know, what about Green Bay? We thought it would be a great place with our history and tradition and Lambeau Field. There was just one little issue was the number of hotel rooms. The requirement was 40,000, and we have about 8,000. So
how did you get around that?
Well, we said, hey, when you come in here, you're gonna you got Appleton, you've got Milwaukee, you got Madison. You know, it's the whole state. But yeah, it was you know, I think it was 2003 or 2023 when we finally got word from the league that. They were going to have it here, and it's been exciting since then. It's really the league's event, but it's amazing what has become. It's just hard to believe. And if you have a long time, I can bore you to death on my draft day story back in 1977, but it's changed quite a bit. I'll just say
we do want to hear. What do you think will be the biggest difference from that day?
Oh my gosh, I mean, nothing was on TV. Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Incredible.
Make a long story short, so I was a senior at Colgate University. Got a call from George Allen, head coach of the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame coach, great coach. He said, Mark, draft then was 12 rounds. It was held over 2 days. It was morning of the first day, I got a call, George Allen. He said, Mark, we really like you. We're going to fly you down. We're going to have a press conference to announce that we're drafting you. So I was in heaven. So went up to, drove up to Syracuse, New York, and they had a flight all set for me to fly down to Washington. So I thought like the first day, maybe I'd be drafted, but you know, nothing happened there. And so I got up early the second day of the draft, and they put me in a car and they started driving me in. Now that was out of Dulles Airport, which is where their facility. It's pretty far outside of D.C. And they drove me into Washington D.C. and had lunch there and saw the Washington Monument and all the great buildings in D.C. But I kept thinking, you know, I'm going to get drafted. What's going on here? And the driver, they didn't have cell phones then, but the driver kept stopping and going to payphones and making calls. Well, finally about 4 or 5 o'clock, drove out to the Redskins practice facility, and George Allen called me into his office and he said, Mark, draft just ended, you weren't drafted, here's a contract, why don't you take a minute, read through it and sign it. And then he turned to his assistant and said, if Mark doesn't sign this, let's get that safety from Oklahoma we like so much. So they had never had any intention of drafting me, they just hid me out. Meanwhile, I called back to my apartment where my girlfriend, who's my wife now, said, what the heck are you doing? Where? I said, what do you mean? He goes, all these teams are calling. Nobody can get in touch with you.
So you had options.
I did have options. I didn't like what George Allen did to me, but almost every other team wanted me to play linebacker, and they wanted me to play safety. And I didn't like what he did, but he did show an interest in me. So I signed for a whopping $21,000 my first year, and I got a $2,500 signing bonus. I was set. I was ready.
I love these stories. I have never heard that before.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So Bruce Allen, George's son, you know, went on and had a great career in the NFL as a general manager, and was a general manager for the Redskins. and then also for, I think, the Raiders. But anyway, just out of curiosity, when we were in the league together, I went up to him and I said, Bruce, did father ever tell you what he did to me the first day of the draft? And he looked at me, he said, quit complaining, it worked out all right.
And it did. It did.
Yeah, no, well, George Allen, he didn't like rookies. He was famous. He traded the same draft choice twice. He liked veterans, so he didn't really, not many rookies made the team, and he didn't have a lot of draft choices. So he had to be a little more creative, but, I look back on it, I was very, very fortunate. And, George Allen was a brilliant defensive coach. He was, probably one of the best defensive coaches. And so for me, even though I only played for 1 year for George Allen, just how much I learned in that 1 year was invaluable to me in my career.
And now the spectacle
of
the entree into the NFL. Did you ever imagine it would get this big?
No.
But
even when it was in New York, it was there was it's a lot of publicity, but I think it's a number of things. I think it's obviously the popularity of the NFL. I think it's also the popularity of college football and kind of bringing them together. And that's great drama. And there's so many people that are fantasy football players that ties into it. And all the the trades and that people just love it, and we anticipate about 250,000 people will be there for the 3 days of the draft.
Mark, throughout this draft process, have you had a right-hand person coordinating information for you, or is there a committee?
Well, like I said, it's a league's event, and they've had a number of people that have come out and made numerous visits. For us, Gabrielle Dow, she's really been kind of the lead person, and we have an intern who we hired just for the draft. It was but we've got a lot of, and now that we're getting close, a lot of people within the organization are really focusing on this, and the league, they're going to start coming in and building the stage in the end of March. So
yes.
It's about. And we have a pretty good sense now of where everything's going to be in terms of the layout, and it's exciting. It's going to be, it'll be the biggest event ever held in Green Bay.
And have you any inclination if you'll have a special role, perhaps making any type of announcement during the NFL draft?
We'll see. One of the discussions is, what happens if we trade out in the first round and we don't have a pick?
Right, which could happen.
It could, Yeah. And Brian and I joked about it. Brian Gutekunst and I, but I said, Brian, if that's the best thing for us to do, do it. That's the most important thing.
All right, we are talking with Packers President and CEO Mark Murphy. We'll continue the conversation right after this break.
And now, Draft Day Memories, brought to you by the True North Convenience Stores.
The 1999 draft was one of the hardest things that you could ever go through. I think sometimes it's exciting for guys, and then sometimes it's stressful. For me, it was exciting in the beginning, and then it got stressful in the end. And so, when you get the call, you never know where you're going and who it is. And so when I was blessed to have that opportunity, I got the phone call that, the Packers was on the call. I didn't even know where Wisconsin was. I knew it was somewhere close to Chicago, but that's about it.
You've all got stories of your draft day. The great Donald Driver. Welcome back. Titletown's Local 5. We are joined by Mark Murphy tonight to talk about the work with the Packers hosting the draft, his legacy that he'll leave behind when he steps down later on this year. Mark, football, obviously, integral part of the whole city of Green Bay. We're hosting the draft. Other cities have hosted the draft, and they were unique. What will be special and unique about a draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin?
Sure. I think it starts with Lambeau Field.
Yep.
That's iconic, and I think just the history and tradition of the Packers, obviously the Lombardi era, and the ownership structure of the Packers is something that I think really resonates with a lot of people across the country, and I think there's a lot of fans across the country, actually internationally, that have wanted to come to Green Bay. They want to see Lambeau Field, and this is going to be an opportunity to kind of come together and see it all, and it should be exciting. Here's the thing: you should know this. The league hopes that it snows.
Really? And we would think
you would think April they would like nice weather,
Yeah.
but no, the snow would probably improve the television ratings. And there's an old saying in the NFL: white means green. So when it snows in the fall for NFL games, people love to watch games in the snow, and I think they probably would love to watch the draft in the snow. And all you'd hear about is the frozen tundra.
So a snow globe on draft day would be something special. You mentioned fans coming in from outside of our area to see the Mecca. Will they have an opportunity to see Lambeau, to get in there?
Yeah, I don't know if it's been finalized, but I think Lambeau Field, well, obviously it'd be open, depending how early they get it, but we have tours.
Yeah.
And I think the 3 days of the draft, that the stadium will be open, so you could go in and watch the draft
nice.
on the video boards. Yeah.
Green Bay will also be hosting the first ever Titletown Tech Startup.
Yeah.
Wow. A young group of
$1 million
entrepreneurs could get $1 million.
I know.
Where did the spark of this come about?
That was really, and now Titletown Tech it's been a great initiative for us, partnership with Microsoft. A lot of credit to Brad Smith, the CEO of Microsoft. He's a Packer fan. He's from Appleton and really very loyal to his roots here, and so he's been great to work with. But it was really Craig Dickman who oversees and heads up Titletown Tech, came up with a concept, and I think it's a great tie-in, and we've had so many great startups that have started through Titletown Tech. I think with the draft being here, really it's going to incentivize a lot of people and $1 million won't hurt either.
And I think enhance our image,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Beyond the legend and the history and the what some might call the old-fashioned culture.
No, it's the paper industry. It's
Yes.
we're especially I think Titletown Tech has helped. There's a lot of technology here, a lot of really things that are exciting, and and Craig's been a big part of that with Titletown Tech.
Oh, wonderful.
The Packers have been posting job opportunities, volunteer opportunities. For the fan who may not be a really hardcore fan, what can they do for the Packers and for the city and for the draft?
I mean, there's all kinds of that. I mean, when you got 250,000 people descending on your community, it's obviously we need a lot of help. And I think if you go to our website, I think you can put your name in. I mean, you also need to sign up, even though it's free. If you want to attend the draft, I think you have to fill out an NFL One Pass. Yeah.
The One Pass app on your mobile, or if you don't want to do that, you can go online and register. Even though all the events are free,
you know
they
this.
just want to make sure. Well, you can't repeat it enough, though, right?
Yes.
And that
because you'd
would
hate to have somebody show up and they haven't registered.
right.
Yeah.
And so if somebody asks you on the street, "What's going on? How do I get here for the draft?" Have you checked out the NFL One Pass app? All your information is there.
Yes. Yeah.
We have much more to come with Mark Murphy right after this, so please stay right there.
Welcome back to Local 5's draft franchise, Titletown's turn. Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy is with us here right now. Mark, so many remarkable achievements. We make it sound like it's easy to do. What was the biggest challenge, and how did you get over it?
In terms of my time with the Packers?
Yeah, with the Packers.
Well, first of all, it's a phenomenal organization, very unique in all of professional sports. I was very fortunate. I followed and actually overlapped for a little while with Bob Harlan, and he was really helpful. Something's really interesting. I think the dates of this, the years on this is, so Bob Harlan was president of the Packers for 18 years. When I retire, I will have been president for 18 years. And Ed Policy, who is replacing me, is 52. And if he goes till he's ended, so we're kind of like Favre,
Right, exactly.
and Rodgers and Jordan Love. You have long term, but it's such a unique organization, and I think for me, probably well, first of all, the changes that we've made to Lambeau Field, I think we've done it in a way where we haven't taken away what makes it really special, but it now has a lot of the modern amenities, in terms of video boards that fans expect. Really proud of Titletown. I think that's been and I appreciate you calling this Titletown's turn. The Titletown is something we're really proud of, but probably most importantly, obviously the Super Bowl championship was. But I think even more so than that is just the consistent success that we've had on the field. That's hard in the NFL. I think the NFL is really designed to, when you do well, you draft lower, and everything's designed to kind of push people to the middle. And we've had tremendous success, obviously, with Mike McCarthy, and now Matt LaFleur, and our general managers Ted Thompson and Brian Gutekunst. It's been fun to be a part of that.
We've had such success on the field, but major successes off the field with the development of the Titletown district. Yeah. And granted, these are all money-making endeavors, but it also seems
but Tom, there's no money on a football field in the middle of Titletown. But that's what makes it special. The tubing hill is nice, but it's not a huge moneymaker. But these were things we wanted it to be really a community asset.
I was going to say that gets to my point of you wanted to give back to the community, not just the football stadium itself.
No, it's been great to see the way the community has really accepted and benefited from Titletown. Ed Policy, who's succeeding me, was instrumental in the development of that. So some of the housing we have there now, the apartments, and so it's really, we talk a lot about a place where people can live, play, and eat, and do a lot of different things, and I think it's been a really nice addition.
Global branding, which is important. You want to try and have a revenue stream that always isn't dependent on how well the team is doing. So how do you strike that balance so it doesn't become a distraction and the team does do well?
Well, you have to keep the main thing, and that's winning is the most important. But no, you're right. It's they're over time. As we talked about earlier, the league is designed that there'll be ups and downs. But we want from a revenue standpoint, having something like Titletown and some of the other things that we do. I mean, Lambeau Field's now that's a year-round attraction. With our Hall of Fame and the restaurant and some of the other things that people can do now year-round. And the other thing, we want to make sure, right now the league is set up where revenues are shared and we're not really at a competitive disadvantage, but that could change over time where it would be more, where the larger markets might have an advantage because they have either wealthy owners or and are able to generate revenue that we aren't. So that's kind of the balancing, and in terms of ticket revenue, we want to be right around the league average. To be at the league average, so you have to, have to be pretty, especially you have to be pretty aggressive in your pricing. But I think our fans understand that that's part of doing business within the NFL.
Right.
All right, that's a challenge, and you have a positive attitude. I guess that's why you've had the gig as long as you've had. We are talking with Packers President and CEO Mark Murphy. We'll be back with more.
And as we head to break, here's your medical huddle from Belden Health.
We're back to wrap up our conversation with Mark Murphy of the Green Bay Packers. I don't want to wrap it up. You've got
Let's
so
keep going.
many
You
good
guys get an extra half hour. Let's do it.
Well, I was curious. I don't want to, accelerate your departure because you are such a welcoming face most of the time. What do you have planned when you're in retirement? You'll still be on the board in an emeritus position.
Status.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I, we'll stay in the area. Obviously, we have a condo. We kind of downsized a little bit in Green Bay, but we have a place up in Door County.
Lovely.
And we love Door County. We bought a golf course, Max Walton Braes, about a couple of years ago. So I think I'll be a little more involved in that. Looking forward to that. And it's an opportunity to Probably travel. We've got 6 grandkids now, and spend some time to see them. And 3 grandkids are in Fish Creek, so that's nice to be able to have them fairly close.
Yeah. As you look back, what will be 1 or 2 of your fondest memories about your accomplishments?
Yeah, obviously I think we'd start with the Super Bowl. It was kind of that, we were a 6 seed and kind of made it right in at the end and just caught fire. And obviously Aaron Rodgers and others really were playing well. So that was exciting to be a part of that. And some of the things, I think that, with Lambeau Field, I think some of the changes that we've made there, really proud of that. And Titletown, I think, something that is going to be, I think long term will be a tremendous asset to the community. So that's, I think the consistent success we've had, as we talked about earlier, and hopefully, I think as a president, you want to leave the organization better than you found it, and hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, when you think back, and what is your hope that when people talk about Mark Murphy, what's the story or what's the one thing you'd love to hear them always say?
Probably he did. He did a good job for the Packers and represented them well, and was very helpful in terms of making sure that they had continued success on the field.
That's beautiful. But first, some long hours because the draft's coming up.
We got to
and you still have more work to do.
Question has come up so frequently now that we've got the draft. People are asking, well, why not the Super Bowl? Why or why not? Realistically, will Green Bay never or yes get a Super Bowl?
I did say the league loves snow, but
yeah.
I
but
think
not
that's
that
for
much.
games on TV. But the Super Bowl is in February now, and the average temperature in Green Bay is about. So, we're going to do what we joked about is we're obviously hosting the draft, and we're going to host as many NFC Championship games as we can, and that'll tell you that's 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, and some of those, some of those games. I remember it was one of the very first games. I actually hadn't officially started yet. We hosted the NFC Championship game against the New York Giants, and
right.
I think it was kind of close to ice bowl temperature, but it was really cold. So. We will never host a Super Bowl, but we'll host as many big games as we can, whether they be regular season or postseason.
And hey, we also have the draft.
Yes,
we do. Mark, it's been a pleasure.
No,
Thank
my
you
pleasure.
so
Thank you very
much for taking your time with us today. Mark Murphy joining us for the latest episode of Titletown's Turn.
To check out all our reports so far, just go to our website at wearegreenbay.com. Stay tuned because our Local 5 morning team is digging deeper into the safety and security precautions that are being taken to host the draft. Until next time, good night, Titletown.